How was your day, bro? How's the week been?
The week's been actually pretty busy. Busy but successful.
Okay. It's
It's
one of
been
those knocking
productive.
out the tasks one by one.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, but
exactly.
okay. Thank you, Victor, for making time. I think this one has been a long time coming since I've started this. I guess these chats in this podcast hat that I'm wearing temporarily. Um,
Yes.
and I think we just needed to have a conversation because you're also someone in your professional space that has affected the music quite a bit. I was thinking about it. I feel like we have at least like more than 40 at this point songs that have been mixed and mastered through Culture Chaos. And I think that's just a testament to a good working relationship. You know what I mean?
Yes. It's
So
been
I
quite a
want to
lot,
get,
eh?
yeah, bro, quite a bit. I was just thinking about that from Black Dog 1 to 3. We had the mixed portions era, then those features that we did there. And I want to get
Yeah.
into all of that in a way, but I think from the best way I could do it is to first get into who you are for those that are unaware, and also just to get into drawing parallels between your journey at Teguini and as someone who's a staple in the circuits that in entertainment, and also just trying to understand your process and how you do things against my journey as someone who operated in
Mm.
Durban in my little corner, trying to do my thing that side.
Yes,
So yeah,
yes, yes.
let's start with like your introduction to music, bro. Because yeah, I just want to get a sense of when did the bug find you?
I actually don't know, as I'm not quite sure, but I
Mm,
know that the environment that I grew up in, it was basically inevitable that I would end up in this thing. Like
mm,
when I was a kid, my on my dad's side, his mom and dad, my grandmother and grandfather, they were like renowned ballroom dancers. So
Hectic. Yeah.
the things that you'd come across in growing up in an environment like that. And
Yeah.
then my brother, he was the direct influence, I guess.
Showcase.
He was a big house music producer of his time, so there
Mm,
was always those things around me. And then his best friend was a DJ Lab.
yeah. Yeah.
So
Shout
I
out
kind of
DJ
just grew
Lab.
up in a space with a lot of different things that have to do with music. My sister was
Mm,
a ballerina. She danced with like the Bolshoi ballet and stuff like that.
hectic.
So there's always been some element of creative expression, but music was always you know,
Yeah.
the pinnacle.
I hear rumors and whispers about this song now. I think I was watching an interview that you did about a song that got you popular at the time when you were coming into the space. Is
Mm.
Teabag in this mother? Is that the right one?
That's the right one.
Aware,
That is
aware.
the right one.
I'd like to paint a picture about what's happening in the scene at that time because right, 2012 to 2016, I'm in Cape Town trying to pursue studies and life is happening. It's
Yeah,
off the tail end of what I guess I could call, if it's fair to say, the golden era of Durban hip hop, that center, crumping. And now we're also moving towards what would be the golden era of hip hop on a national scale in 2012 to
yeah.
2014. So at the time where that song is popping off in your circles, what's the scene like at the Itegreen at the time?
This is 2008.
Also, this is
Um,
prime time, crump era,
yes,
poetry is
yes.
moving. Okay,
So I started basically around 2004.
sure.
So the first, I always begin the journey by the first time I was on stage.
Showcase.
So that was like 2004, and then from there, it kind of was still very much hardcore hip hop based. Lyrics ran the day. There was the DJ Labs of the time dropping like the Given mixtapes. There was Terminally Ill in the at the
Mm,
terminals. It was very cipher central. What you see in
yeah.
8 Mile, you know,
The
that
reels, the
type of.
reels. Yeah.
You couldn't
Yeah.
rap in Durban if you couldn't hold a cipher down, basically. Yeah, well,
And I'm guessing
fast
at that
forward.
time, language is important. Are people making it in English, or is it a matter of you got to have bars no matter how you approach it?
At the time, we didn't care if you were English or
Okay.
Zulu. That's the beautiful thing I think about Durban. Even now, you
Mm,
didn't care,
mm.
but you had to be able to rip it. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So that's what I think was beautiful at that time because you were told early that you're whack.
Mm.
Yeah,
You
well,
got the feedback
or
immediately.
immediate
Yeah.
feedback, bro.
Yeah.
You got immediate feedback about where things are, which
Yeah.
kind of evolved into the dance element of things. And if you're from Durban, you know that dance has been big since Omis.
Since. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, so now it's time to shine right after that hip
Mm.
hop thing, and then things get clean. Now it's Babes, you know.
There's
Now it's
Naf
that,
Naf, that
yeah, there's that
lifestyle.
snap, you know.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
that blockbuster duo, you know. There's that Stomp
Yeah.
the Yard. You got served.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
The staples of how we dress, the YMCMVs coming in now. The
yeah,
fashion is just snapbacks still have the stickers on top. Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
yes, exactly that. So on the production side, I decided early that the rap thing is not going to be for me. I'm going to be more on the production. And at that time, I was heavily into Swiss beats,
Sure.
you know, and it was a great time for that because people were now attending dance shows. So you can't come with the Brooklyn dirty, dusty beat, you
Yeah.
know.
You need
People
someone who's
want to
gonna
dance
move
that.
them. Yeah.
Yes, dude. Nobody's trying to hear your complaints. You know, we want to.
Not on the dance floor. Yeah. None of
Not on
that.
the dance floor, bro. So
Yeah.
I kind of decided to produce a song that's catered to that environment. And
Sure.
then a friend of mine, Umzi, he was around at that time, and he just started while I was making the beat. He just started saying, "Teabag in this
In this
motherfucker,
motherfucker.
teabag in
Okay.
this motherfucker." So, and this is around the time Touch It came out. So
Also, already on the bump, bump. I can see the
I'm like,
connection there
yes,
now.
the
Yeah.
beat's
Yeah.
gonna go one way, and then it's gonna go another way. Yeah, well,
Got you.
straight
Okay.
formula, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we performed that at one of these dance shows, and it just explodes,
Popped off.
dude. Like it goes crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Okay.
that's kind of basically where that
The
began.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that what's beautiful about it too was that once something like that happens, word of mouth is still so powerful as a tool for getting your name out there. And I can
Mm.
imagine in a time that's not even towards when social media was a thing, but just that pure organic reach, like you're saying, and quality control is one to one or in a cipher, direct, and you can receive what you're doing. So I think you understood early on where your role was, at least from a I want to be a producer standpoint. At this time, are
Yeah,
you creating events?
no, that came afterwards. I think I just walked my way down the value chain. You know, I had
Okay.
obviously at the time I didn't realize it, but from producing, I was like, okay, cool. I jumped
Mm,
into basically recording artists,
mm,
and then now we have a song.
mm.
And what are we gonna do? Where are we gonna perform this thing? You know,
Yeah,
and
it
I'm
becomes a
tired of
need that
these.
informs that. Yeah,
Yeah, we're going to these dance shows. Yeah, but we're getting these performances in this place, but it's not really our stuff. We don't have anything of ours, you know.
mm,
And internationally, around that time, it was those YMCMP times where you're realizing that people are now YouTubing it. People are doing it, you know, DIY. It's like it's the beginning
yeah,
of that era. So if we want to have this music, then we need to have somewhere where we're gonna perform it. But
mm,
just what prefaced that was me saying, okay, now there's music that we've produced. DJ Lab is a DJ. Truly, I need to be able to be a DJ so I can play these songs.
mm.
And then from there, you start getting bookings at events, and you're like, okay, cool, they're catering to their crowd, but truly, if I want to cater to my crowd, I need to now DJ these songs at an event that I'm doing.
Mm. Okay, so
Yeah.
you're creating the product firsthand with production experience, the skills you're learning there. Then you're taking it to a level of, okay, how do I plug myself into spaces where I need this music to be heard? And then the skill of DJing comes from that. And then
Yes.
it becomes a thing of, I want to curate this for a specific audience that I know will buy into this or grow with me in that journey. And then
Yeah.
eventing comes into that. Do I have that correct?
Completely, because we're now finding out at that time that this your Tech Nines that we have no
Yeah,
idea about, but they're selling our shows and selling merch and doing all these things and doing their own events. You know,
yeah,
we started
yeah.
coming with first things like Tomorrowland from around that. So you're like, okay, the only natural progression is to do this because all the parties at that time were just house, and you get
Yeah,
one hour
yeah.
of hip hop.
There was that time where literally you would either look forward to it or it would be when people would go for
Yeah,
drinks and take a break and all of that
2006
stuff.
to 2010, I can say that those 4 years.
Yeah, yeah.
We got an hour on the dance floor
Ah,
as a hip hop.
yeah. Hey, that was even World Cup times. That was still a thing that time.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Um, all right. So fast forward to now, right? Looking back at that time, you still seem to be the person that's carried that spirit of DIY in everything that you're doing. Uh, recently,
Mm,
you've gotten even into filmmaking for artists that you regularly work with. Is that just part
mm.
of extending what you need and inventing or innovating where there's a need for it? Because now we live in a sort of social media age where things are seen on these devices.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm very two ways about the whole social media thing. At the beginning
Mm,
of social media, when we existed in an industry where there was no social media,
yeah,
and then the greatest thing to ever happen to social media at that time was MySpace, and it was still based on an art. It was like artisanal. So if you're a musician, you're doing MySpace, and then came the Pinterest if you're a person that takes pictures. Then
yeah,
came the general public social media, and the
yeah.
live where things just went crazy. Yeah, but
Once it
so
became a cafeteria for anyone to come
oh,
through.
yes, where everything else
Yeah,
became a medium for the content, because everything prior to that, everything prior, especially to TikTok, was the music or the painting was the output. It was the final destination of the enjoyment or whatever. Now it's watching the content of somebody painting,
yeah,
and it's about
yeah.
how great the content is, not how painstaking the artistry is. You know,
Yeah, so it almost seems as if it takes away from what should be the experience of art, and now we're into the making of the art with the artist in public,
yes, so
so to
it's kind
speak.
of
Yeah,
yeah, kind of it's yeah, there's a dual thing there. So you'll find where I don't do a lot of my own content because I'm very much immersed in the experience of creation.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I then got behind the camera because I have
mm.
one laying around, and I'm like, okay, Usilo, my bestie, he's
Yeah, yeah. Shout
in that
out.
industry, so I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
let me just shoot. I got a lot of tips from him. I always say to him, what's it? His dad. I got whatever his dad paid. I got for free from Silo.
You got that apprenticeship, mahal.
Get that apprenticeship, yeah, bro. Which is,
Yeah,
I think that's that. Now that you say apprenticeship, I think that is my approach in a lot of things.
yeah,
I think if it was medieval times, I would have probably been a blacksmith. That type of. I
yeah.
enjoy the process of mastery.
Yes, yeah,
And again, the need after now that it's a content world. Now we need to have content to put this music out, even if it's these freestyles. If people don't see you, then they
yeah.
don't hear you. So then
Yes,
I
yeah.
started getting into the filmmaking side of it. And again, it's just you learn the technique and then you just painstakingly try to master the art.
Yeah, I think quickly before we continue, shout out to the work you've been doing with the Celestial Mic on those freestyles. That man is cooking. I don't know who made him mad, but he's working.
I don't know who made him mad. I don't know who made him mad, but yo, yeah,
Yeah,
somebody must
yeah.
have said something to him.
That's beautiful stuff. I want to get into the work that you do with other artists because we've spoken about your work as a producer, but in the time that I've at least known you, right, I even remember the first session that we had. We were recording what ended up becoming Utembisile, the first track on my first EP. And that day,
Mm.
I think I'd met you through Nomaku. Shout out to her.
Shout out to
And
Bobby.
bruh, and in that space, that same space that you're in right now, was a whole bunch of artists, and that became something I knew cultured chaos as a studio and a space that's
Mm.
mastered a lot of my music to be. Was that also intentional, or was it the result of eThekwini resources are sometimes scarce, and you have to kind of build community with the people that have certain resources, and then move
Mm.
together to get that momentum going?
Yeah, I think yes, a part of that is true. You do need to because of the economics of the industry, especially like I say when.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I was like a product of that. Like I used to attend a DM studio, DM Media, in
sure.
Claremont. We'd walk from New
Mm,
Germany with the homies and go there, and you'd never find an empty studio. There'd always be people there. So I understood that there's a spirit of collaboration.
mm,
Even if the word that your lyrics that you said in the studio don't end up on the song, some way somehow you'll influence the artists or the songwriters based on the vibe that you
yeah.
bring into those spaces. So fast forward to 2016, the selection era then comes in, and I'm like, there's these guys
Mm,
that are doing this. They just have producers and they've got these artists and they don't
mm.
care what other people are making, but they're creating their own sound that can only come from being in the same ecosystem.
Yeah.
So then I sought to build Leo's ecosystem again through those culture chaos entertainment sessions, for 2019,
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah, I think for those that are unaware, there was a season, right, where yeah, I still remember those days. 2019, there are enough venues open where if you are an indie artist, you could do a smaller nyana circuit, whether it was what is it, the Charlatan, the Jazzy
Yeah.
Rainbow, Chairman, to the club scene, and that circuit is a bit more established relative to that. We were
Mm.
pushing, and you could create spaces for yourself to share the music. And at that time, a number of artists kind of got together under this umbrella to record music. I mean, I could list like Celestial Mike to T-Dog Amazing, to Yashna, to Ivy and Neptune, Skindi, Audio Synth. All of these people have sort of passed through the space from now to like a pretty much order. There's always a level of A&Ring that seems to have happened organically in your
Yeah.
studios. Is that another passion of yours that you have? Because it seems as if, or at least I've noticed that when you find talent or talent finds you, you honor that talent at least with the opportunity to prove itself to the right people in the right spaces.
Yeah, bro. My dream has always been to be in a car listening to music that I've been a part of and just enjoying it. Like if I could for as long as possible,
Yeah.
One of the reasons I even got into, I think, the executive side was because there were these hype session tapes, bro, and it was just Onyams and the old Battle Cat and all these niggas, and it was just a predominantly, Pretoria sound, and I just didn't resonate. It wasn't what I was growing up around. I'm growing up around Abdus, almost a machine on Rondo. We had a totally different thing, but nobody had taken time to package things to get to a point where we can have good music where it sounds like we're just ready to rap and cypher, bro. That's where we are,
Quick. Yeah.
That's it. So then I dived more into that, and I found people like Chris Lidy, and you hear about your Steve Stouts in the game, and then you're like, okay, so there's actually people that are in this that make things happen.
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't want to mention Diddy.
Yeah. Hey, please. I'm gonna censor it even.
But you get what I mean, I realized early that I'm not trying to be BIG.
Sure.
I'm trying to be more Dame Dash than BIG.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
That brings me to an interesting part of the conversation, I guess, when we're speaking about executives, because it makes me think about the infrastructure of places that are outside of Johannesburg, right? Now, Itegu is one of those places where I believe there's a huge market that can support you on its own, as far as KZN goes, right? If they buy into it. Yeah. And with that in mind, it means there are politics in a space like that. It's been 2 years or so since I've been in the space from an indie and emerging level. But from what I've seen online and engaging the talents, there's just seems to be a new wave of guys coming into the space, and OGs, or at least people who are veterans in the space, also still claiming and creating a space for themselves in a time where we're more open to niche sounds and the artists themselves. How do you see the scene at the moment? Do you think things are moving in the right direction, Lapitego?
I think we're definitely moving in the right direction in terms of quality of work, but Vele in Etegwini, like you could throw a rock and you're gonna hit somebody that's gonna give you a 5 verse or be
There's
able
no
to do some
shortage.
random
Yeah.
singing. Yeah, well, we are just built that way, because if we can look at a lot of other models, but you realize that in terms of folk music, South African folk music, it's Maskandi, heavy, and then you would have even I'd attribute the Afropop sector, not the lyric side, the more who are these people, man? The more Zama, not even the jazzy Zama Jobe vibe, like the hardcore stuff that's out now. Onomfundo Mo. Yeah,
yes. There's a particular texture.
Particular R&B Afropop that is that's a KZN, and then there's Umaskandi, which does not need the rest of the country.
It can work on its own.
It survives in KZN. There is a lot of us. You know, if you're looking at
Yeah.
GDPs, I might be mistaken, but we're very high up there. We might be even second
Mm.
largest in the country. You know, so
Mm.
that's why a lot of stuff is sold here to Durban, to KZN.
Mm.
Artists know that they need to be in KZN. They need to be a name in KZN, otherwise they won't be able to sustain themselves because we are a consumer nation.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we're heavy on that side. You know, so Casper, Cooley know that they needed to have a footprint in KZN. We're like the South, kind
Mm.
of. You know, you find Jay Z
Very
having
much
a
like
song with
that. Yeah.
Big Pimpin', and it's like, why does Jay Z have a song with Bun B and Pimp C? Because he knows that the
Yeah.
South is self-sustaining. You know, so what is lacking now is just more people on the arts administration side,
Mm.
where we have enough talent. You know, now we need brand builders. We need people that are going to sit down with these artists and style them. We need people that are on full time on their social media, keeping up with the algorithm. You know,
Yeah.
while they stick to the generating of the music, because we're like a factory, bro. We're like a music factory. You
Yeah. The
know,
talent never runs out.
I'll say something a bit, tongue in cheek or controversial, but like Nagoma piano, yeah, well, if it's not the jumpy shaky stuff, most of the vocal piano that resonates nationally has an element of isizulu.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's the
It's more
driving force.
accessible to the
Mm.
nation. Yeah.
But I do want to say Bar, Ilimpopo, Nempumalanga. Things happen different there. Yeah,
I
well,
think they share a similar kind of unity, in a
yes,
way
and
where
it comes because
they. Mm.
they're close to
Go ahead.
another huge nation, but like the Sesotho and they
Yes.
also have the pride, that the Zulus have.
Yes.
So they enjoy their stuff, So we won't get
Yeah.
it because we moved to a different beat, but they love it and they support it the way we do, you know.
Yeah.
So
And I
you have
think
a
that's how it
situation.
should be, man. Like the regional
Hmm,
support of spaces, and bringing what your region represents, is very important. Sorry, I cut you off.
yeah.
You were saying something.
No, I was just saying. No, that you're saying that. I'm thinking to myself like, I think on an activist, political activist side of the music thing, I would say that is something that I advocate for completely, which is the decentralization of the music
Mm.
industry, because that's crippling South Africa right now.
Yeah.
It's impractical that everybody needs to travel to one destination. For all the media outlets, it shouldn't be operating like that when life has
Mm.
decentralized through social media, through us being able to have a Zoom like this. There's so much
Yeah.
possible now that a person from East London his hope should be being big at Eastern Cape, and then he can take care of his family.
That is so true. Yeah. Because I mean, I'm in Joburg literally because of work. If I wasn't, I'd definitely be still grinding back
It's a,
home.
it's a
You know what
migrant
I
labor
mean?
system. It's a
Yeah.
migrant labor system. You lose your job in Joburg, upindele makai. You
Yeah.
know, like it's the flipping 40s or something like that.
And you still hear it even in the lyrics of the music that you're saying, cuts through from KZN, where people are still telling the story
Hmm.
of ukuthi umuntu kumele ahambe eThekwini ayosebenza eGoli asebenzele imali yakhe. There's
Yeah,
like a need for that
one of my
at the end of the
favorite
day.
Java songs, bro.
Mm.
One of my
It's
because
it's
it,
it's
it 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 hits it on the nail on the head. It's like a new artist, but the theme still resonates with everybody from your grandfather that was going up there to go to the mines to you now
mm.
going up there, to become this brand aficionado.
Aish. And now, if we had to put a time on it, do you think we would get to a place of decentralization if things are indeed heading in the right direction? Is it something that we're meant
Mm.
to see in our lifetimes, or is just simply set up for the generations after us?
I must have now a lot
Yeah.
of decentralization will come from economic necessity.
Mm.
The scarcity that the whole world is going through right now requires for creative thinking. Even now, like in your space, in the brand space, it's no longer just whichever influencer. No, who can do something in Cape Town.
Yeah.
We don't have those
Yeah.
budgets that we used to have before. So
Yeah.
as things
That
happen
is
like
true.
that, even in the music industry, what I think I want to emphasize more than anything is that a lot of the times we tend to separate the creative industry from any other industries, and it's a business industry.
Yeah.
It has the same thing. It's just that now it's just got this magical form of creation.
That also just tugs on the heartstrings and, has a
Yeah,
experience attached to it. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
the music has, for the industry to survive, the music industry, it has to decentralize.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I'm keen to see where that goes. But I don't want to get too deep into the politics and ruffle too many feathers. I think what I want to just focus and circle back to is this EP, right? So, as I
Mm,
mentioned, Brad, this is probably like the fifth project or body of work we've worked on. And I think we found a formula, so to speak, in terms of, when I started 2016, I was on that very mic behind you, yelling my ass off, rapping the way that I would perform, like
mm,
back in the days in Cape Town. And now it's gotten to a point where, I've got enough studio experience to um, be able to know how to use my voice more effectively alone and just send you the stems now from Johannesburg and wrap things up.
yeah.
How important is artist development to you and your process nowadays when working with new talent? Because I'm guessing, you're getting a little bit older, with all due respect. There's also things that you want
Yeah.
to do in your life and relax so
Yeah.
how do you manage that as far as from an artist development perspective?
Hey, right, artist development is the most important thing. Yeah, well, it's one of the most
Yeah.
important things. I can say that, but it's also very important to let the artist go through their own process. You
Mm.
know, even at that time, if that was your approach to music, that was how you wanted to get it out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's rather see how we can polish that up until you're like, I want to try something new. Yeah, or
Yeah.
like that infamous club scene, the infamous club experience you had. Yeah.
Man, let me tell this story, dude, so that people know what's up. Again, now we're tying the chats about infrastructure and places to perform. So we had a space where I've now recorded this EP, and then through the relationships I get that exist, I'm performing here, Rich, 47th Avenue, I think it was still at that time.
Yeah.
Um, and there I go. Now, the thing is, I'm not someone who goes to the club often. I've been there, I see what's up, but it's either for you or it's not for you. And for me, I learned the hard way how not being in a space enough to know how the people react and what they react to is a growing moment, right?
Yeah.
I get there. I'm coming through with the deepest of tracks, performing to what is a crowd looking for escapism, good time, you know? And
Yeah.
you had to kind of just work your way through it. And afterwards, everyone that I guess had seen me perform up until then is coming through with their version of, boy, they cooked you, but you're growing. You're gonna be
Yeah.
tougher for it. You're gonna be tougher for it. And it goes back to what you were saying earlier, which is etubani feedback is all man. At
We
to
thought I'm
are
mad.
you yeah, hey, bro.
Yeah, well.
And I looking back now, I can say I definitely appreciated it, but it definitely
Mm,
knocked the wind out of my sails. But I don't think I'd be the artist I am today without a moment like that because being artsy in a space that has very much the music tied to a cultural experience and a cultural pride
yes.
is something
Yeah.
that I think artists need to be aware of in any case when you're trying to, or in commerce and business and success in business is the common goal for your music.
Yeah.
So that was a oh man, that was a
That
good
was
time.
wild. And I was standing right there behind you. I'm on the deck, so I'm DJing for this guy, and I'm like, yeah.
You're gonna you're gonna see what's
You
up.
gotta get it. But to fast forward where you could have at that point said, you know what? I'm gonna leave what I'm doing and pursuing and just go straight to make the club stuff. So
Yeah,
I can cater to this crowd. But you chose to carry on your journey. So
yeah,
inevitably you're gonna have to grow in whatever way, shape, or form that would have come out. And now when I'm listening to, from the work that you're doing now with this project, it's just like it's effortless. It's like tying your shoelace while you're having a conversation with somebody else. It's second nature. It's
yeah,
coming second nature to you. So I
yeah.
think, and that's what they generally say is once you've mastered something, is like when it comes naturally to you.
That is so true because the sound I'm on now reminds me of, I was telling this to another guest, that it's that Bad Center Sundowners, right? This is post crunk
Yeah,
era. This is 2016. That's the kind of feeling I went for. And like you're saying, it was an effortless thing to recreate because it came from that place as far as thinking about what to write about and the inspiration. So I appreciate that.
mm,
I want to thank you for the time that you've given us today, bro, and shout out to yourself as well for the work you've done. I think people like yourself, I have to give a shout out to people like DJ Wobbly and Asante as well, the DJ Lab. All these people exist in the community that helped push talent like myself. And I think it going unsaid would be a disservice to the work you guys do on a daily basis for talents. So yeah, is there anything you want to plug, bro, while we have this platform and this chat, regards to releases, work, or just the services that you offer as Cultured Chaos?
Yeah. Oh, I'm a little bit. We're like a boutique place here. We don't
Showcase.
work on the commercial level.
It's a young referral.
It's a referral system.
Got
But yeah,
you.
definitely
Yeah.
the Pretty Much album that's coming out
Yeah.
very soon. Yeah,
Shout out.
TeabagCC. Something I
Sambalagi's.
haven't done in
Thank
a
you.
long time. Where I've produced the project top to bottom. So all
Wow.
the tracks
Nice.
on it are produced by me.
Mm.
I've got that. There is an EP I've got coming out called Mona Pansi. It's like 5
Showcase.
tracks, kind of like
Okay.
that. Had records come out, and then there was Mona Pansi, the title track. Don't Need No Drama. So
Okay.
there was Udando and Yashna and that. So I've got a little
Fire.
flavor, like a happy hop type of situation that I'm
Yeah.
gonna have come out there. There's Celestial on there. There's Yashna. There's Udando. There's Loki Esto and this incredible young lady, Aeon. You
Okay.
know, Jory
Nice.
Rich and Mac 11. So yeah, that's
Oh,
coming out
shout
very
out. Shout
soon.
out.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
Oh, yeah.
It's always about the collaboration of different sounds, dude. It's the selection
Yeah.
style. It's gonna work. And then
Hey,
I've
because you
got
never know
a
what comes out. Yeah.
I've got an Afro funk project coming out.
Afro funk. Let's go.
Yeah.
Issue.
So it's Abahambayo. I've got Abahambayo on there. I've got Pure Dog
Okay. I
Amazing
see.
on there.
Yeah.
And Mufana was a escort, or Charlie Earthling. Yeah, and
Hey, these guys always come out of nowhere, man.
it's a dude who is he's the younger cousin of one of my friends from varsity. She's like, hey, I've got a boy here, he doesn't know what he's doing. He just wants to
Mm.
come sing. So I'm like, bring him through. And then this dude sings, and I'm like, brah, KZN, dude.
Hey, you can't stop us, man.
Yeah. So it's that. But what I will say, I do, the services that I do, cover a pound of flesh for all the mixing and mastering stuff.
Yeah.
I'm always good to cut up other people's work, but I'm very particular
Okay.
about what I put my work on, my name on. So yeah,
Yeah.
people will basically hear your project, and if you want your flavor to sound, how yours is gonna sound, then they can hit me up, man.
Aware. Aware. Thank you for that, bro. Let me not take up too much more of your time, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, we'll chat, bro. I think thank you for this
Yeah,
conversation. Yeah, I think at this time when this goes out, it might either be released day itself, or
cool.
sometime after the release. Either way, it's been a good one.
Either way, man. And my favorite is JPMD.
Showcase, showcase. I guess I should tell the audience, man, like again, these songs were made just off of the feeling. At the time I made this
Yeah,
video, I'm not a driver. So that's just a testament to writing stories and telling those stories in as best a way I can tell. Because that song was inspired by like all the times I've been in the car being stopped by the cops. I have had that
sure.
experience of going to in Josie when I was here for a shorter time and seeing how that's going. That's where it was pulled
Yeah,
from. But again, like you're saying, it's something that comes from mastery of writing and the passion for writing in different perspectives, in different people's stories and eyes of seeing a situation. So I'm glad that's still connected, even though I'm not necessarily the one in the driver's seat in that song.
yeah. But you're a wallflower, so you make astute
Hey,
observations
man.
in the song.
Se a surpresa, G. Is it a vision?
Okay. I know. Shout out, bro. Thanks again.
Carve out the words that were genuine. It's letter with money off of your uncle's and heritage. Holding knuckles with wedding ring. I'm getting ahead of myself, safe in the present sense. There's honey and etiquette. I'm tracing the blessing made from the scars and their recompense. Peeled off a pessimist to